Welcome to Collective Guidance with your host, Charla Goodnight. This is a space where we come together to share wisdom, stories, and insights from thought leaders and everyday humans alike. Here, you'll find conversations on spirituality, health, wellness, parenting, and the human experience, all designed to remind you that you are not alone and that we are all connected. Let's step into the guidance we can only find together. Welcome to Collective Guidance with your host, Charla Goodnight. I am so excited to be here today. What would your life look like if you stopped working on your marriage and partnership and you started working on you? That's right. No working on the marriage and partnership. You just worked on you. I am thrilled today to have Jenny Gremillion join me. Jenny is a certified relationship coach for women, specializing in helping women to get the love and connection back in their marriage without the conscious effort of their spouse. Like, what? She has been married for 19 years to Gant, and they have 3 daughters. Jenny, I'm excited for you to guide us in the feminine way to a thriving marriage. Thank you so much for being here. Tell me all about yourself and your background.
Well, first of all, thank you, Charlotte, for having me. I'm so excited to get to come on and chat about this topic. So, yes, I have been married for 19 years to Gant, and I had a corporate career before coaching. And actually, that's how I met my husband, was in the medical device sales industry. And been coaching for about 5 years. I started out as a financial and business coach and was doing a lot of career coaching, money coaching, that kind of thing. And one common theme kept coming up was that these women didn't necessarily have a money issue or a financial problem. They had relationship issues. And so, I was killing it in business. I was a career girl before that. So I really felt like I had that figured out. But relationships, I'm a faith-based person. So I never saw myself getting a divorce. But
Mm.
honestly, I just felt like my marriage was kind of okay. And we were kind of in the thick of parenting. Our oldest was like a teenager, getting to be 12 or 13, was kind of like new challenges. And I just secretly kind of felt like, is this all there is? And are we going to be like this forever? Is this how our marriage is going to be? And I had read all the marriage books and I just felt like, well, he won't do any of this stuff and he won't, do this and that. So this is just, I guess, how it's going to be because he won't change, was basically the underlying thought. And so I went on a quest and a journey to figure that out. And because I was seeing this with, in other women as well, these issues that I kind of had too, and I didn't really know how to help them. And so that's how I ended up where I am today.
Oh, I love that. So what caused you to get into the work is you having the experience yourself and wanting more and it being shown to you that others are struggling. I mean, relationships are not easy. That is one of the hardest things that we have to experience in the human form.
Hmm.
There's one thing that you have told me, and you have said, there's no such thing as working on a relationship because a lot of times, we want to work on our relationship. You say there's only working on yourself. I'm in a long distance relationship, and one of my goals is to work on my relationship. That's a really bold statement. So, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so it was a big shift for me as well. What I found for me is that when I was trying to work on the relationship, really what it meant was I needed him to do this or I needed him to do
Mm.
that. And if he could just do this a little bit differently, like that's not the way I need him to show up. If he can just do this or that. And there was a lot of emotional turmoil spent on thinking about how the relationship wasn't exactly how I wanted it, and I wasn't getting certain needs met. And so what I found was when I kind of got deep into this work was that I had neglected what I needed and the things that I could only provide for myself. And I think that as women, we get caught up sometimes thinking that we are going to get specific needs met in a relationship. And we're kind of like clouded and fooled by this thought because really ultimately those things are only things that we can do for ourselves. And so I had to just turn from focusing on the relationship to what I call getting back on my side of the street or getting on my paper and thinking about what is it that I want for my life? And what is it that makes me happy? What can I do to really make myself happy? Because again, when we're focused over here, it's a lot easier to kind of stay in that like focus. It's a lot more difficult and a lot more self-confronting to
Mm.
over to our side of the street and think about all the things we can control and maybe we're not doing in our life because we're just distracting ourselves with what's not working over here.
Yeah,
And
it's so hard to look into the mirror and say, "What do I need and how can I give it to myself?" instead of focusing on all that they are doing wrong, right?
And that's the first step. Obviously there's other skills that I do teach my clients, but the first step is figuring out what you want and how to make yourself happy. I have all of my clients start out with make a list of 20 to 25 things that you love to do just for frivolous fun that make you happy. It can be small, like sitting and having a cup of coffee for 15 minutes. It can be, traveling to Costa Rica. I mean, anything in between. But I like them to create a list of things that they can do every day. I recommend at a minimum you do 3 things a day that you do to seriously just make yourself happy. I mean, there's all sorts of things that I find again, women at our age, we get busy with life and families and kids, and maybe we've forgotten what we love to do. I've had women who come to me and it's hard for them to even write down 5 to 10 things because they're like,
It is for me,
fun?
Jenny.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's hard for me sometimes.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so I like to keep that really handy. When I also found, and I also help my clients see that when you start to get over on that kind of negativity train of like, again, everything that's going wrong or what they're not doing or anything regarding them, you have to ask yourself, have I done at least 3 things today to make myself happy? Because that's where it all
Mhm.
starts is keeping our vibration up based on the things that we're doing and it just makes all of this other work so much easier. So that's really the foundation. That's the starting point.
My nose is twitching because it just resonates with what you said right there, doing 3 things for ourselves to make us happy. You also teach, though, that self-care isn't about bubble baths. It's actually a relationship strategy. Can you explain what you mean by that? How it's a relationship strategy? Like, I mean, I feel like I'm in chess or something, playing
Yeah.
chess.
Yeah. Well, I think that we've had in our minds as women, we've heard over the years of self care, and you think, yeah, a bubble bath or a massage. But that's not applicable to everyone. If bubble baths and massages don't elevate your mood and really create a zest and a happiness and just an excitement for life for you, then that shouldn't be on your list. Maybe they are. But again, understanding that we have much more power over our mental state and our happiness and our just daily zest for life than we think when we can accept that and understand that. And that's the first step to having a happy and successful marriage and relationship because again, we can't control what they are doing and at the same time we are the only ones who can genuinely make ourselves happy and get to that state where we're just magnetic because you've heard the term happy wife happy life. It actually is true. And it is because this is the foundation. We're magnetic when we are happy and have a smile on our face. It starts to shift the dynamic.
Yeah. I have the phrase of, I hang out with joy. And when I say that to people, they're like, why are you so happy? And I'll be like, I hang out with joy. I had someone one time be like, who is that? And I was like, what? You don't know Joy? And he was like, "Is it a stripper?" I was like, "No, it's not a stripper. It's
Right.
a state of being, buddy." You know, like
Yeah.
whenever he said that, I was like, "No, like
No.
it is literally a state of being and it brings more to you. Just like you said, it's a magnet. It attracts more to you when you are happy. Okay, so you also say, though, something that men desire deeply is respect. And like, I mean, I get it. And part of me is like, it is the question of, is it patriarchal? You know? And then the other part of me is like, no, I think it's just innately within them. It is part of their DNA that they need to feel that. Can you talk on that? And can you give us three specific ways women can show respect that men will actually feel that will not make us feel like we are living in a patriarchal society, you know? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, I understand your initial thoughts and if other women are feeling that way as well. It took me a while and honestly just kind of softening my heart and understanding because when I started to put
Mm.
some of these things in practice, when I was seeing things change, I started to just open my mind to the fact that maybe it is just how it is, and I had read the books on, love and respect, and but how do you do that? Like, okay, that makes sense, but like, how do you do that? So it is a difference in men and women. And I think that a lot of times women, we show up with our partners and our husbands how we feel like we need to show them love. But actually, men do not feel connected to us by us showing them love like we want to be shown love. So it's a beautiful yin and yang, okay, that comes together. This is what we call feminine and masculine polarity, and the basis, well, one of the
Mm.
basis of it is that women want to be loved and men want to feel respected. And it's just biology, it's the way they are. And you'll find that if you start to implement some of these things, you're going to notice that your man does light up and he starts to show you love more. And, you know, going back to like us starting the work and kind of, again, this conversation is about not without your man's conscious effort, women just happen to be the keepers of the relationship. And that's just the way it is. And if we can go first and start some of these things, we just see such a shift. So, some of the ways that we disrespect men are, and things that we can change is, one way that we do that is to correct them. So,
Mm.
if let's just say you did get some help from your husband, he unloads the dishwasher and we're busy. A lot of times we're busy and, we walk behind them and say, "Oh, that's not efficient. That's not the way you load the dishwasher." So you change everything they've done, right? I mean, is
Oh
it
my
just
God,
me?
I did that to my ex-husband, hence we're not married anymore.
Is it just me? I'm sure it's not just me. But and that's just one thing that comes to mind. So basically, the underlying message is like, I know better than you. You don't really know how to
Mm.
load the dishwasher. And a man wants to be, again, this is men are different than women. They want to feel like you revere them and you trust them. And so for us, correcting them and going behind them like that almost puts them in, I'm the mom and you're the boy and you did it wrong.
Mm.
And so, yeah, we're not perfect, right? And so that might happen. But over time, if that's the consistent underlying message, it can just start to really shift things, right? So that's one way. A few other things we may do that's disrespectful would be telling them how to dress. Maybe you don't really like the way they dress, and you're going to tell them, "Hey, I really, why don't you wear this? Are you really going to wear that, tonight?" Um, again, is it just me? uh, no, actually, that's not one I've struggled with because my husband, he he's always handled all of that himself, but I know a lot of women do, and
Well,
I saw my mother
I
struggle
would
with that.
I laugh, Jenny, because I literally just had this conversation with a group of people how this woman needs to let her husband dress however he wants to dress. Like, let him dress how, like, I let my partner dress however he wants to dress. If he asks me for my opinion, then I'll chime in. But otherwise, I'm going to love him for the way that he looks. I love him regardless. I'm not going to judge him on how he dresses. But I laugh because I just had that conversation with a group of people on how she tells him what to wear. And I was like, I don't think that she should do that. Like, I
Yeah.
think that she should just let him dress however he wants to dress. Who cares? So
And
that's funny.
the underlying thought I think that women think about when we think about these type of things is, "Well, I'm just being helpful." He just
Right.
no, I mean, but
Right. And we're not.
helpful in woman language is controlling and disrespectful in a man's language. And again,
Yeah.
it's just a different language that we're speaking. So
Yeah.
that's one way. I mean, another way that I think a lot of women struggle with maybe disrespecting their husbands and they don't realize it is they say something and you roll your eyes or you interrupt them and say, "No, no, 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 it's not like that. Let me tell you how it should go." So those types of things are disrespectful as well. And again, we feel like we're being helpful or we kind of know better, so we need to teach them. And it's just that type of way of operating with your husband and your partner is just you're just not going to get reciprocated what you're really looking for. And like I said, men are just different.
And so
So
the three ways that we can is
yeah, so I like to say that the 3 ways that you can respect your husband is not correcting him, right? Not correcting him when he does things, not telling him what to do with his career. I mean,
mm,
how many times have your husband or your partner told you something about work or and we're quick to tell him, "Well, what you really should do is, XYZ." So, again, that's on his paper, that's his life, and he knows best, and as hard as it is, strong, independent women, that comes across as disrespectful. And then the third way would be whenever he does talk and tells you things, you don't have to. I found like in my life, everything he was telling me, I was quick to, no, that's not right. I I
mm,
don't agree with that, or I need to tell him otherwise. I don't know. It was just an automatic thing I was doing. So I really
mm,
started to take a step back, and I was finding he wasn't talking to me as much because I wasn't a safe space to talk to. Because my knee jerk reaction would be to disagree with whatever he was talking about. And that doesn't mean that I've changed my opinions or my beliefs on anything. It just means I started to slow down. And one thing that I started to implement more, and this is a way that you can respect your husband, is to just say, "I hear you." When he starts to tell you something and you may not even agree with it. Saying "I hear you" is not saying that you agree. It's just that you hear them. And what I started to find is when I started to do that, he started to talk more.
mm.
And the conversation started to open up and flow like I had been wanting for so long and I wasn't getting.
I
So
love that.
that's really
I
can
hear
be really
you.
powerful.
I
Mhm.
hear you.
And we've
That was
had
really great. That was really great, Jenny. What were you gonna say? We've
well, I would
had
just
what?
say we've had in the past few years, we've had hour-long discussions where
Mm,
I didn't give him a single opinion about anything. I just was a safe space for him to talk, and it just was such a contrast to how it used to be. And me becoming aware of that and just again allowing him to talk, it just kept flowing, and my heart it was just so amazing. My heart started to just become so full and just so content with everything that he was sharing with me. And I was just honestly in awe. And it was because I was willing to listen and to just say, "I hear you."
I love that so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I needed that. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, many women feel like they have to do it all. In a relationship, sometimes we feel like we just have to like take control and doing it all. Why is learning to say I can't or that doesn't work, I'm not able to, I'm not going to, such a powerful relationship?
Well, I know for me, I found myself in a place of just exhaustion. I was handling everything. I had left a corporate career. And so I think that even though I had a business now, I had multiple businesses.
Mm,
I felt like, well, because I left the corporate career, now everything falls on me. And so I think that many women now, maybe they're both working outside of the home, but still the women, for some reason, feel like the household, the sports, school, God forbid, all the emails we get from school now with kids and all of that
so much.
somehow the women a lot of times feel that it's all their responsibility. And I mean, quite honestly, it leads to burnout and it leads to resentment. And that's where I found myself a lot of times was just resentful. But again, I didn't have any strategies to deal with that because I just felt like, well, this is just how it's flowed and this is just what I'm expected to do. And so there's no other option. So learning to say I can't was really powerful for me. And I think that something that your listeners can definitely start to think about and implement. And the way I like to look at it is if your spouse asks you to do something, or if it's just all of a sudden a given that you're going to handle something, or like the example I like to give is one thing my husband used to say is, I mean, he still will, and sometimes maybe it works out, but sometimes it doesn't. And now I know what to say. One day he said, well, hey, I need you to go to the dry cleaners and get my dry cleaning. Well, here I am, the work I'm still in my mind like a stay-at-home mom, but I've got businesses. And so I feel like, "Oh, I've gotta do that." I just that's just what I have to do to support
It's your
him.
role.
It's my role
That
or
you
something. But there was a workout class that I really wanted to go, and fitness is a big part of my self-care that makes me happy, and if I've gotten my workout in, that's definitely a top 3 for me every day. And so I missed the workout and went and got the dry cleaning because he needed it because he was flying out on a trip and he was on the phone and busy and I felt like I had to do that. And it caused me to be very resentful
mm.
of him. So I have turned that around and shifted things. And now if my husband asks me to do something and I know that it's going to prevent or get in the way of me doing something for myself that I had planned or that I want to do. Or if I'm just tired and I'm sitting on the couch and I'm reading a book and I'm enjoying myself and I just can't, because if I do the thing that he's asking, it's going to cause me to be or feel resentful, then I simply say, I can't. And that's all you have to say. And they may not like it at first because you're switching things up, right? It's a different way of being. And you have to be okay with what I like to call bait that they may throw at you, even though they don't really mean to, but they're not used to this behavior, right? They're not used to you standing up for yourself and really putting yourself and your well-being first. So things may seem a little hard when you start this, but the more and more you do it and you really honor yourself and your limits, then you find that things start to shift as well.
Yeah, because you're not saying I can't because you just wanna be mean.
No.
You're saying I can't because I'm exhausted. I I have to go pick up something else. I have a
Mhm.
workout class. You
Mhm.
have something. You're not doing it to be mean.
No, and we all know because yes, I can. Of course I can. I'm a woman. I can.
We can do
We
anything.
can do it, okay? But the problem becomes when we try to do it all, we find ourselves really burned out and resentful. And that does not make for a happy, loving relationship that I think we all desire. So we have to be willing to put our limits in place. And one way to do that is just to say, I can't. And it really doesn't require any further explanation than that.
So, if a listener is feeling disconnected in her marriage right now and wants one small thing that she can start today doing to begin turning things around and make it feel more connected, what kind of advice would you give her on this?
Yeah.
Or him?
Hmm. Hmm. Well, I think for her, because I mean, I'm a woman and that's my experience, right? That's who I could speak
Right.
to. I think I would speak to the woman and I would just say, just please know that you have a lot more power than you realize. And I would just challenge her to just really dig deep and think about how she is taking care of herself, because the first step is to kind of get your focus off of him and the relationship and what's not going back right, and get your focus shifted over to herself. Get yourself focused on what you can control. And let's make your list of 20 to 25 things that you can do. And I tell women, if your first reaction is, "What? I don't have time for that. I don't have time for 3 things a day to make myself happy." Then I would just say it may be time to reevaluate some things in your life, because if you don't have time today to focus on making yourself happy and really loving on yourself in that way, then, what are we doing, right? And that's where I would start. I would say just make your list, keep your journal, focus on that every day, and you're going to see a spark start to shift in yourself, which is going to ultimately start the chain reaction, and it's going to just shift the whole dance in the relationship.
Yeah, if they're not happy in their relationship, you're saying it's really important for them to start getting happy with themselves. Because a lot of times when you're not happy in your relationship, it has to do with you not taking care of yourself.
That's the first step. That's the
Yeah.
first step. And there's other things that I teach in my programs and my coaching, but we have to start there, because we are the only ones that we can control. And if we're going to change this whole dynamic, it's got to start with us. And yeah, making yourself happy is the first step.
Yeah. Anything else, any other guidance you would give our listeners to have that happy marriage or happy partnership and just feel better in life in general?
Yeah. Well, I would say open your mind up. We live in a culture where, and I had to do this myself. I mean, I I didn't see the best example growing up. My parents' dynamics were not anything that I ever wanted to replicate. So, my mom didn't have these skills, and my dad wasn't really doing his part either. But again, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, right? So, I think
And Jenny, it was a completely different era, right?
right.
We have learned so much. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a completely different era for our parents. Not
Yeah.
to give excuses, but to
They
look
did the
at
best
it
they
and
could.
say
Yeah,
acceptance in it. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So I would just say open your mind up to this whole dynamic, polarity, respect and love, and how if you feel yourself a little bit turned off to it at first, I would say just keep an open mind, and you can try some of these things that we've talked about today. Just experiment, It may not work for you, but man, that moment when you see some of these strategies start to really like get a different response, or you start to feel some love that you haven't felt in a long time, it is just invigorating and it's exciting, and it just makes you want to keep going. And that's the journey I've been on for the last few years. And my marriage just keeps getting better and better. And I'm just so happy now. And I want that for other women. So I would just say keep going. And it's little by little. And before you know it, you're gonna change the dance around, and you won't recognize it.
Yeah, and I think writing down every day 3 things that you're grateful for. I
Absolutely.
I just talked about gratitude. Gratitude has been essential in my life for many, 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 many years, and when we focus on what we're grateful for, we're not looking at the negative in life. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And especially in marriage, you may find that there's one thing that you find yourself not liking about your spouse or complaining about your spouse. I found this was true for me, and a lot of women find this. There's just this one thing, but you can find evidence for whatever you're looking for.
Oh.
So if there's a one complaint, let's just say he's extremely lazy and he doesn't help me. Well, okay, so you've thought that thought for a long time. Your brain, because that's what our brains do, they've found tons of evidence that is true. Okay? So where the mind shift has to come in is we turn that around, that complaint that we have about them, we turn that around into the positive. How does he help out? How is he actively involved with the family and helps out around the house? Maybe that's the flipping of the negative, because what you're going to find is there is also evidence for the positive side of that complaint that you have about them. And if you keep that forefront in your mind in your gratitude journal every day and you start to collect evidence for how that positive flip side is true, you will start to find that you find a whole host of things that they are doing to support the evidence for the positive.
So, you know what part of the brain does that? The reticular activating system.
Yeah,
Whatever you focus on in your brain, that part of your brain then shows you evidence of that. It like it attracts it. It's kind of like focusing on the red car that you want, and then next thing you know, you go out and you see tons of red cars. Yeah, thank
that's
you for
very
that. That was
powerful. Yeah,
that it is very powerful to focus on what you do want instead of what you don't want. And the fact is, listen, there is no relationship that is perfect. We are in the human experience. Relationships are here to help you elevate to a higher state of consciousness. You cannot elevate to a higher state of consciousness without navigating through moments of
absolutely.
discomfort. And there's this one woman that talks about, you are much of a creation. You are creating it just as much as they are. And so, how about you stop looking at what they are doing wrong and you focus on you? I'm divorced for 12 years and him and I get along great. I love his wife. I'm not saying that if it's a relationship that is abusive or extremely unhealthy that you should stay in it. Not that my marriage was abusive in any way.
Right.
Never. He would never put a hand on me, but we just didn't work out, and it's okay if it doesn't work out. But if it doesn't work out, you still have the ability to create a co-parenting, beautiful relationship. And it takes two, yes, but it also starts with you. And just like in a marriage and partnership, to have a beautiful relationship, it starts with you. It takes two of you, but it definitely starts with you. And God wears lipstick. Just
Yes.
saying, you
And
know,
right, and you're and this all applies to someone you're co-parenting with. You can
yeah,
still use all of these skills and just have a beautiful relationship for your children.
1000%. 1000%. I mean, all he wants is respect and to feel respected. He
Yeah.
wants me to hear him and to acknowledge what he's saying so he feels heard. That's all that we want. Every single human wants respect. And when you were talking about that, I was like, would you do that to your best friend? Like tell
Right.
them, no, they shouldn't wear that or interrupt them while they're talking and tell them they're wrong? Like, would you do that to your best friend? Probably
No,
not.
probably not.
No,
No,
you would just sit there and listen. So I love everything about this. And I hope everyone can walk away with this and not only for their partnerships, but all relationships.
absolutely. This is applicable to relationships with your children, with your siblings, your parents. I mean, it's a way of being. It's a new way of being, and to really start
Mm.
to think about how we're showing up this work, because it's practical ways to put this way of being into place to show respect to others, and in turn you'll get the love that you're looking for. So,
Yeah. You guys, you can get more of Jenny, and I love her podcast. She has a podcast. So her podcast is The Happy Wife Mentor, and you can find it on all streaming platforms. Her information is so great. It's not long sessions. It
mm,
is really great information that you can just take and implement right away. Also, you can find her on Instagram at Jenny Gremillion, JennyGremillion on Instagram. I'm so proud of myself for getting that spelling right, not
Got it.
having to look down at the paper for it. Yeah, I get it. And also, if you wanna work with her, I'm sure that Jenny would love to work with you. I don't know how many spaces, but I know that she has programs that go on, and we met in coaching school. We were in school together and we were coaching partners, and she really helped me a lot. She is a phenomenal coach to work with. So thank you so much, Jenny. And do you have anything else you want to share?
Well, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to come on and share this information with you. I am so grateful to have found this work, and I love helping other women to uncover their blind spots and blocks that they may be having. Sometimes it's easier to have a guide to help you walk through this work and this journey. And I'm just so grateful for you having me on, and I appreciate it.
You're welcome so much. And to have a coach is so important. I mean, I have a coach. I have 2 coaches right now and a therapist. So if you're like, "Oh, I don't have money for a coach," actually, you can join a coaching program, which is not as expensive as having private coaching sessions. Find a coach. Having a coach is a great thing to have. And you would do other type of coaching, not just relationship in it. So, other type of coaching if someone wants a coach. So, anyways, thank you so much, Jenny, for coming. And I am super excited for all of your work, and I'm very grateful. Thank you guys for joining us on Collective Guidance, and I look forward to connecting with you next time. If you find that this was helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Jenny's work is phenomenal, and everyone should know about this for better relationships. Thanks so much. Thank you for joining me today on Collective Guidance. I hope you feel lighter, more inspired, and deeply connected to your own path. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Collective Guidance or our website, collectiveguidance.com. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, may you walk with clarity, courage, joy, and love.